right. Welcome to the Terrapin Podcast Network. This is the Yellow Jacket Report. My name is Darren Douglas, and we're doing this podcast from the Terrapin Podcast Studio in Spearfish, South Dakota. We're here at 132 West Hudson. If you think you want to do a podcast, come down and see us, and we'll get you set up. Today on the show, my guest is head football coach at Black Hills State, Josh Breske. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing great. A pleasure to be here, Darren.
Well, I appreciate you coming in. I appreciate the nice football for the studio here.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought
Add to the ambiance. We're growing here as we start off, and
it looks great.
And get more people in here. Hopefully, I can get some of your other coaches in here.
Oh, they'd love to.
Maybe some of your players, and we can talk about everything that is Black Hills State football.
Yeah, they'd love to. That'd be awesome.
How was your holidays and stuff? Tell us a little bit about what Santa brought your kids and all that.
Santa spoiled our kids, and it was great. We didn't have to necessarily travel with obviously that huge snowstorm that we got here in Spearfish, but no, it was great. We got to spend time, just the four of us as a family, snowed in our house, and it's always great. Those few weeks, there's really it's like the 3 weeks in December through kind of New Year's, and then about 3.5 weeks in July. That's like no football, just family time. It was only 6 weeks of the year.
Yeah,
I kind of shut it all the way down.
Oh yeah, you got to do that, or it'll be gone like that because the holidays go quick.
Oh yeah,
you dread. Maybe dread them isn't the right word, but you're like, oh, I got to get ready, and then pretty soon it's like, oh, done deal.
Oh yeah, and it's still learning not to procrastinate even at the age of 35. I mean. I don't know if I'll ever figure that out, but...
Oh, to be 35 again. All right, man. Well, I wanted to talk today a little bit about recruiting. And so maybe talk a little bit about how the NCAA has it set up for each college and each different division and things like that. So they can kind of people get an idea of the base that you work from every year.
Absolutely.
When you're trying to bring new athletes in.
Absolutely. And, I spent most of my career coaching at the D2 level. Spent one season at an NAIA school as a graduate assistant, and that's always kind of the Wild West. But, what I've been used to and what's current for D2 right now is D2 will allow you to have 36 full ride scholarships. Basically, the way it works is they come up with a GIA or a number that kind of constitutes your total cost of attendance. You take that number, multiply it by 36. That's how much cash you can use to offer scholarships to as many football players as you want. So
I've always heard of them as full ride equivalencies, FREs, we've called them.
Oh, yeah. Yep, absolutely. Full ride equivalencies. Equivalency is kind of the term that goes around quite a bit.
So each D2 school, the NCAA allows 36 of those full ride equivalencies, correct?
Yep, correct. And
then now each school has to fundraise to that number.
It just depends. Yeah. I mean, for us institutionally, our school, through our foundation, they're able to get us into the 20s, and then we fundraise into the 30s. So
yeah,
that's the first time ever here at Black Hills State. We're going to be pushing into the 30s this year. So
yeah, that's great. Having been involved with that in the past, we work really hard. In the past, there was the NCAA had it set up. I think when we first got into the RMAC, it was 32 or 30 full rides.
Yeah.
And then every couple of years, they advanced it 2 more till up to the 36 limit. And it seemed like every time we made headway getting to that 3 more scholarships fundraised for, then they would bump that up, and teams like Pueblo and the Mayans would instantly have that money,
Absolutely.
So now that there's 36, everybody's got that ceiling that they're kind of banging their head against, and we're getting closer. We're building our way up there.
We're getting there for sure. I know. So 36 is the max. This next year we plan to offer up to 34. So it's going to be a tremendous talent level difference, and you're not going to see it right away next year. And our recruiting model, my staff and I, is we're going to be 90% of every signing class will be kids coming out of high school, and so they need time to develop. So the 34 scholarships will, of course, put it to work, and I think we'll be able to sign a higher caliber, more talented athlete, bigger athletes as well.
So when you only have an average probably 100 guys on the team?
Yeah, this year we started the season with like 108. Yep.
So when you break up those 36 full ride equivalencies, it comes along with like a financial aid package. How does that look for a student athlete? How do you work that? Because when you come to them, you would say, we're going to give you X amount for football, X amount for this academic scholarship, Pell Grants, things like that. Kind of explain that process a
Yeah,
little bit.
exactly. Well, FCS is offering 63 full ride scholarships, and FBS football is offering 85. So with us offering 36 and BH specifically getting into the 34s this year for the first time, it's imperative that we stack. Stacking's always kind of been that game in D2, and so we'll take a football scholarship. Total cost of attendance for an in-state or in-district student to come to BH, we're talking anywhere between 14 and 17,000.
That's room and board, books,
Room
tuition.
and board, books, and tuition and fees.
Yeah.
To be full-time. You'd be pushing maybe into the 18, 19s if you're taking 30, 33 credits a year. You want to live in the nice dorm, but we kind of settle on that number, rated about 16 and a half for our in-state. So, let's say I want to offer a kid $10,000. Where are we coming up with the other six grand? And so, hey, go apply for FAFSA. Let's see how much loans you'll qualify for. Based on your family income, maybe you qualify for a Pell Grant. Based on your ACT and your GPA, can we get you an academic scholarship? And stacking it up, making it as affordable as we can to get kids to say yes. That's the whole game that we play.
Well, and I would think making it easy for them to navigate, easy for them to see it on the page.
Yeah,
probably helps, quite a bit too, because like I was telling you earlier with my daughter, who's just a regular student, just going through that process with her, I was like, oh, I can see how it'd be nice to, if you were coming in to play football. I don't remember that process when I played,
I don't either.
I just remember, yeah, you bet, sounds good, and then I would go pay for my classes and whatever they taught,
I'm the same way, because I don't remember the offer sheet with my name on it coming from the football coaches, but yeah, it's funny for us. It's kind of like, we're sending this contract out to these high school kids, and it has to be legible. It has to be, it's got to be, it kind of has to speak to their generation. So we keep a lot of jargon off there, and we keep it as clean, as simple as we can. And there's a whole nother world out there of how schools will manage their offer sheets. And so a lot of times if we're competing against, a school, we'll just ask that recruit, would you mind sharing that offer sheet from that school with us so we can compare? And sometimes we find some shady stuff going on, some hidden costs here or there, and we try to keep ours as black and white and as honest as possible. So
yeah, it seems, and I would imagine that you have to have a lot of buy-in from the rest of campus, from the other people, the other obviously financial aid, admin, all of that stuff. So it's not just you and your staff managing that. It's working within the whole community on campus.
Absolutely. The one thing that we're still learning is managing work study.
Yeah.
We might if your EFC or your estimated family contribution once you fill out your FAFSA is less than $15,000 a year, you qualify for federal work study, but you got to go find that job. And one thing that we ran into when I first got here, we're putting a $2,500 annual work study as part of their offer. Well, then Buddy didn't go get the job and ended up getting hit with the $2,500 bill.
Yeah.
And he's, Coach, where's that $2,500?
Yeah.
So that's, there's still a lot of things that we're learning here at BH, but trying to continue just to distill the process and get really good at managing, all of those things that come with stacking scholarships.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, that one reason I wanted to go over that is I think there's a lot of parents that when their kids are younger, they're thinking, I'm going to get my kid in this sport and he's going to get his college paid for.
Yeah.
And it's not always that. I think there's a lot of parents that think scholarship means it's all getting paid for. Yeah. And I mean, even at the Division I level, I always use baseball. Like University of Miami, the best baseball players in the country most years, they only have 11.5 scholarships at NCAA baseball to split up amongst an entire baseball team. So even if you're the best baseball player in high school, you might not get a full ride to Miami.
You might have some skin in the game.
Yeah, because the NCAA kind of figures that out. So I mean, one thing for as the young athletes and parents of athletes that are coming up, understand that there's money comes from a lot of different places, and you got to dot the I's, cross the T's, and jump through the hoops to get it.
Absolutely.
But it's there if you get it.
It is. Yeah, you hit on a great point. There are a lot of people, hey, I got an offer. And
Yeah.
then they don't follow up with the question, well, how much is it? You know,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
think it's always going to be a full ride. And I get that question a lot at our level at D2. How many full rides do you give?
Boy.
Zero.
Yeah, you got to be a
I
dude.
gave my first
right?
one a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and we signed the kid. He's going to be here on Saturday. Excited, very
Yeah.
excited.
And I would think that even at the top level at this, the guys that played, who was in the national championship this year?
TCU, Georgia,
No, at Division II.
Colorado Mines, Fair State.
Yeah, Colorado Mines. I mean, in
Yeah.
our conference and stuff, and they probably have just maybe a handful of full ride guys, if on that quarterback probably.
Yeah,
But
I would think so. And those academic scholarships. Here's what's really interesting is like for us, 36 scholarships times your total cost of attendance. It's not as much money at Black Hills State, that pool of money,
yes.
as it is at Colorado Mines.
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to say.
And
Stanford's pool is way less than if it's.
That's the thing is like we necessarily we're in a great situation where we don't have to fundraise as much money to get to be fully funded at 36 full rides as some of our competitors.
Yeah.
And we were one of the most affordable schools in this whole region. You look at us, Shattern State College, unfortunately, is very affordable.
Yeah.
I got my master's there, and but yeah, there's not a lot of schools that compete with us too.
Well, and in the world of like states in the RMAC, Nebraska, they have different built-in advantages how their system works. Their state system, so they can give waivers to kids, so that makes that money go that much farther. They don't have to now they can waive him and say, well, he's an in-state kid now, so we can get him, and then they can find him some books, and then that money just keeps going a little bit farther and a little bit farther. Whereas the state of South Dakota doesn't allow that situation. And maybe someday they'll work on, we can work on some of that stuff. But I think, I don't know how that affects. I'm sure it even affects the big boys that just won the national championship a little bit. And
tell you what, that's so good for our whole regental system of all of our border regent schools here in South Dakota, for them to win that championship. Maybe it gives them a leverage to. Well, you saw a couple of weeks ago, they announced a few more states were going to be recognized as in-state tuition for all regental schools.
Oh,
including
really?
us.
Yeah.
Who do you think they were east of South Dakota or west?
No, yeah, exactly.
They were east.
Yeah.
It was Illinois. It was Wisconsin. It was, that speaks to Northern State. It certainly speaks to South Dakota State.
So now when they're out recruiting those states, every one of those kids they're looking at is an in-state equivalent instead of an out-state equivalent money-wise, right?
It's a difference for us of about $2,500 a year.
Yep. And
across 50 kids over 5 years, that's a lot of cash.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So we're trying to there are some whispers of potentially adding for Black Hills State specifically, maybe California, maybe Texas and Arizona, which is great for all of our sports.
Oh yeah. Great for everybody, all the universities in the state.
Great for all the universities. There's great sports being played in Texas, Cali, and AZ. So we'll see.
Yeah. The biggest thing that hurt us, or one of the biggest things, was they got rid of JC football in Arizona.
Oh, I know.
I was just down there over the holidays here at my folks' place, and I was talking to my dad about that. He didn't realize that. I was like, yeah, I mean, that was a recruiting rich area for our school anyway.
They shut it down, man. It's too bad.
Do you think they'd ever bring something like that back? Or
I hope so. I want to say there's maybe 2 schools that are still rocking it out right now. I couldn't tell you which ones, but yeah, right now the closest one out west is Snow College in Utah. Yeah. And they travel to Iowa.
The home of Josh Heupel. He went to Snow.
Oh yeah.
He went, I don't know, I think he went maybe Weber State right away out of high school, and then he transferred to Snow, and then that's where Leach found him, was down at that Snow Junior College. Utah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, let's talk about some of the guys that you got out recruiting for you that are having to follow some of these rules, give some of this money out. Tell us a little bit about your staff, any new guys that have been around, and kind of where you got them off looking for players and stuff.
Absolutely. So, yeah, our system, the way we do it on my staff, we split it all up into regions. It's the best way to do it. Hey, you take this state, you take this half of that state. We split it all up. Currently, I've got 2 coaches in California, I have a coach that recruits Arizona, and really it's just kind of that Phoenix greater area. I have one coach that recruits Colorado and really hones in on kind of that is I-80. I always get confused about that interstate. I-80. Um, I do South Dakota, Nebraska, Eastern Wyoming. Coach Coach Hopkins, one of our new D-line guys, has done Western Wyoming, and we're going to be able to promote him to our full-time D-line coach.
Oh, okay.
So I announced that to the team today, and so I'm going to be giving him a little bit more responsibility in the recruiting territories. JB Brown, our defensive coordinator, recruits the Salt Lake area, north and south of there as well. And then other than that, I have another graduate assistant that's kind of everything else. So any other kid that we get a questionnaire from, whether he's from Louisiana or Florida or North Carolina or Texas, he's in charge of those guys. And so, it's looking at this last recruiting class, the signing class of 2022, we did really well in California.
Yeah.
Better than I ever thought we would. I think COVID was really good for that. We had a lot of kids that didn't get to play their junior year that weren't getting looked at by some of the Division I schools. They slid a little bit down to D2. And there's just the sheer amount of people out in California has been really good for our recruiting. And so Coach Ben Blake, our offensive coordinator, recruits SoCal, and Coach Joe Ashfield, our quarterback coach, pass game coordinator, does NorCal.
Do they so when they go out on one of those trips, they out there a week?
2 weeks.
2 weeks they'll go out and just hit the road in the car and start going to high school, right?
We'll fly them out. Kind of our process is we start following those kids around April in the spring. Start talking to them, trying to get them to come to our prospect camps. We'll go see them at camps off site, and then through the season, hey, come up for a game day visit. And a kid from LA is not going to fly up just for a 3-hour game in Spearfish most of the time, but staying in constant touch with those guys. And then as soon as that contact period hits, that's the Monday after Thanksgiving every year, boom, we send everybody out, plane tickets, you're flying into LA or Salt Lake, getting a rental car, and it's 2 weeks on the road. So right now there's 2 of us that drive out of Spearfish. It's our coach Jonathan Cervantes. He was new with us this year. Coached our DBs and was our special teams coordinator. He does Colorado, so he drove south out of Spearfish, and I drove east into South Dakota. Did a little bit of Des Moines this year. I'm thinking it might be too far. It's kind of a lot of those trails have gone cold, unfortunately.
So. Well, and there's a lot of schools to compete against out in that, especially a lot of NAIAs, a lot of.
And we really honed in specifically on just the Des Moines area, and it's far. We're talking like 9 hours, and so
I was going to play baseball at DMAC in Boone.
Okay.
I took a recruiting visit to Boone. Yeah, that was fun, but I didn't end up
like
there.
it.
But
we pour out for 2 weeks, and we reconvene right before kind of finals week hits, and start pumping kids into our database. We rock out evaluations. It's crazy. This year we invested as a athletic department, got into a program called ARMS. ARMS runs compliance, scheduling, recruiting database, workflow, and data management. It's really, really great. I love it for recruiting. But what's really cool is I was able to look. We've completed over 4,000 evaluations as a staff. Really? And so basically, if you're the area coach, Darren, there's a kid that you like in one of your towns, you evaluate him in our system. It passes him on then to the position coach. He ranks him using kind of like a star rating, more or less. Sure. If he likes him, it goes to the coordinator. Coordinator likes him, it comes to me. I click the offer button, and then we call the kid and we offer him.
Okay.
So it's kind of a funny system how it works, but it's super efficient. And what I found is this weekend we're hosting our first official visit. We got 28 or so kids coming, and just the talent level has risen of the kids that are coming to Spearfish on visits.
And I got to imagine having the season that you guys had last year, probably
I think
some guys are like, seeing that this might be a place that they want to come and try to get some time on the field. But
I hope so.
So yeah,
that's the plan.
How many kids you got coming in this week, did you say?
Oh gosh, 28 kids coming everywhere from LA, Salt Lake, a couple kids from Wyoming, few South Dakota kids, kid from Nebraska, a handful of Colorado kids, and
Probably helps when you have nice weather like this.
yeah, kids flying up from Arizona.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's great. You know, there's a lot of good direct flights out of Rapid City into Phoenix, into Las Vegas, into
Oh yeah.
I don't think LA, but obviously Denver. But yeah, those help us quite a bit in recruiting. So I'm excited though. I mean, here's the deal. Like our motto in recruiting, we really have two mottos. It's let's out recruit what we have, and let's get that kid on a visit. Because if we get a kid on a visit, we're signing well over 60% of kids that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. How many you getting closing when you get into town?
I'd say it's probably close to 62, 63% based on what we keep track of. And so the game's funny. I mean, for us this year, we pumped up the volume of recruits. And of course, you're going to whittle it down to 30, you know? So we started with, I got the number right here. We started with, of course, you would do that. It was 3,900 recruits. We're hoping to trip in, oh gosh, probably 100 to sign.
So
30.
you're gonna spend money on 100 about basically.
Yeah. We'll trip in.
Yeah.
It's probably more like 75, Darren. Probably trip in 75 guys to hopefully sign 30 to 35 guys.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we'll be at the point where maybe we can turn a couple guys away this year.
Yeah.
You know, that's never been the case here. And I think this year could be the first year where we might run out of scholarship money and have to turn kids away, which is great.
Sure. Well, and that's got to mean improved depth, I'm sure, which
Yeah.
was always something I thought that was the next step would be the improved depth at across the board.
Absolutely. And I look at this year, because when I first got here, kind of drawn that line in the sand that, you know, we're just going to take high school kids and we're going to sprinkle in transfers. It was rough that first year. And shoot, we went 4-7, played some close games, but the depth just wasn't there. We were playing a lot of freshmen that year.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, those guys came back and played as sophomores for us this year, had a 7-4 season. But one of the best things about this last season, we were able to redshirt 35 guys. 35 guys, man. That was awesome. So those guys are all coming back, and
the key is getting them back after that redshirt year,
beating there
and eligible, and
and that's the thing, keeping them eligible. That's one thing that I think that's maybe overlooked at the D2 level is how many hats that we wear as coaches.
Sure.
And I know what I'm getting myself into, so trust me, I'm not whining about it. I love it. You know, I love being able to make an impact and help those guys schedule classes and drop that class and do that. But man, you can't tell me that Kirby Smart's sitting down doing all that stuff.
Oh no.
Maybe he is. I gotta imagine he's got an office full of people that are helping with the academic advice.
Well, he might be having to deal with it, but it's basically look at this. This is what we did. You know, not at the And then people might be surprised also at what he does deal with.
Certainly.
You know what I mean? As far
Certainly.
Because they're all kids and they're all like your kids when you're their head coach. So whether you're Nick Saban or Kirby Smart, if a kid comes in and he's got that look in his eye, you know he's hurting, or it's tough to walk away. I mean, you don't get in this business because you don't care.
No,
certainly
not at this level. It's not worth
it's
not about the money.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk a little bit about the transfer portal and how that's affected recruiting at your level. Positives, negatives, what the future might hold as you see it.
Well, let's play a game first.
Okay.
So the game is how many football players at all levels have entered the portal since the new year.
Since the new year?
Mm-hmm.
At $2,000? 2,000?
No. So, I mean, it's what, January 11th? So we're talking, 11 days?
Yeah. Oh, okay. No, that's total is up in the thousands.
Yeah, it's in the thousands for sure. This number surprised me. I just pulled this up when you and I started.
100.
466.
Wow.
In 11 days.
And that's at all levels between
all levels.
Division 1, FBS, FCS, and Division 2.
Well, it's funny. School's starting up everywhere. It started for us this Monday. Right here, first page of guys in the portal. There's 25 guys that got in today. that fills page 1,
Yeah.
filters down to page 2. It's a huge impact.
Well, and there's far more guys in the portal than there are spots for those guys.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
The statistics last year said that 54% of college football players who entered the portal got to another school, which is sad.
54%?
That's sad. No, it's
means
just
40% of them walked away from free money.
for the
A majority. I mean, there's
ended
probably
their
some
careers.
walk-ons that got in there into the portal and stuff, but a majority of them walked away from not free money, but
And it's tough. You know, you look at this list of names, you got, I obviously can't read names off, but there's a USC, a Georgia Southern, North Park, Limestone, Alderson Broadus, Northern Iowa, University of Texas, couple D3s, McDaniel, St. Vincent, Shorter, Post, Arkansas State. So it goes all levels, and every kid's got a story. And so, I mean,
well, I would think if you're going to go in the portal as a kid, you better be aggressive. And you're going to have to go sell yourself. Nobody's going to come. I mean, you're competing against.
Yeah, you better be good.
You're not competing against the 4 guys at your position anymore.
You better be good with this thing.
You're competing against everybody that wants your.
And you better be good with your computer.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because that's the thing is, if you don't know how to make a highlight film, if you don't know how to post pictures, and which every kid these days knows how to do that, but you know, if there's a kid that I'm looking at in the portal, I click his name. The first thing I do is go to his Twitter page. That's where all the news is on what's happening in that kid's life football wise. Yeah. And if he doesn't have a highlight film, I just got to move on to the next guy.
Yeah. If he doesn't have huddle or he doesn't have something that you can at least, Yep. And you get hundreds. I'm sure I was looking at, it might have been one of your DMs you were showing me, and it was just, you're like, which one of these kids do I start with, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, since the first.
Whereas when I was in high school, I was making tapes and sending them to people, you know, I was like.
It's still that way, Darren.
The 2 VCRs, you know.
This is since January 1st right here going up. And those are all kids that hit me up that I know nothing about. And
yeah.
I'm kind of an idiot for keeping my DMs open, but
you never know what you're going to find.
And you
never know.
You don't.
But then you also, and there's probably in that handful, just right there, there's probably a good group of kids, 4 or 5 really good kids that you'd like, but it takes time to find those kids, and you only got so much of it, I'm sure.
It's tough.
It'd be fun. It'd be fun to watch all the tape.
It would be fun if I had that time.
Yeah.
I see these guys, these recruits getting frustrated with the process too. Because a coach like me, you know, one of these kids just popped up, 6'3", 280, JUCO grad, in, you know, one of my DMs that I just got today. I haven't even looked at this yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to hit this kid up and just ask him to send me his film. If I watch it and I don't like it, I say, hey, we're going to head in a different direction. That's frustrating for these kids, you know, to hear that.
But you'll also be when you immediately ask for film, your evaluation starts.
Yeah.
Am I going to get it back in a timely manner? How bad does this kid really want, you know?
And things have been moving so fast. Like, one thing that you got to do, in my opinion, and maybe some disagree, or maybe just time doesn't allow you to do it, you got to call the certifying institution or the institution the kid's leaving. Yeah. You have to call and ask.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about Johnny. Tell me why, in your opinion, why is he leaving? And sometimes,
so do you have access through the portal? You have no idea what kind of grades they had, or anything like that? It's just, here's his name, here's his number, this is where he played. Call him up. You can ask him if he's got good grades.
So in the NCAA portal, when you log into that, it'll literally say Darren Douglas, Black Hills State. That's it.
Yeah.
No number, no email, no Twitter. It'll have a little icon if you're a graduate transfer. It'll put a little grad cap by your name. But for us, we felt it was worth it to subscribe to a service. And there's multiple services out there. I try to tell my wife she should start a portal service.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because work from home, man, all you're doing is just checking kids' Twitters and updating their profiles.
Well, and as a teacher, your wife being a teacher, I mean, those kids need guidance in that in that whole process. Just like when they were recruiting, and they were using the services that, you know, and the rivals and the whatnot. I'm sure it's the same.
And this is kind of a similar service. The service that we subscribe to, they operate and generate high school databases for evaluation purposes. The same thing that, you know, so we subscribe to them. They'll give us a couple thousand high school kids every year. that we'll pop into our system and sort by area and just start hammering through evaluations. Well, they also, one of their biggest functions and kind of their niche market is they have a transfer function within their website that's all automated. So the day the kid gets in the portal, it populates their database. The kid gets an email. They hunt down the information of the kid. They ask him to fill out a questionnaire. And so I can look at this kid who just got in, and if he filled out this company's questionnaire, which is in their best interest, I can see that he's a D2 kid. He's 5'11", 185, from the East Coast. He's got 4 years remaining. What else? There's an email address right there.
Yeah.
So this service has been really good for us, and it just helps speed up that process to where if you like a kid, you can get a hold of him right away.
Kind of like a clearinghouse too.
Yeah.
Like, if you call one of this service's kids, you can feel the information is solid, so to speak.
It's been good, but yeah, it's impacted everybody. And I don't know, the price that you pay scholarship wise for a transfer is high. You have those scholarships are just higher than telling a senior in high school, hey, we want to just bring you in on a 50% scholarship and then, grow you and help develop you. And you can always add more to that scholarship. You can't. If you're bringing in a transfer, you kind of got to throw cash and just say, hey, we need you.
Yeah. Here,
we're going to put our money where our mouth is, and we want you to come right now.
Yeah. Need you to play right now type stuff. So when you're looking at a portal kid, is it the same deal? You can bring him in, play the same recruiting rules as a high school kid?
Yeah, they can make official visits and do all that as well. There's a little bit of tracer paperwork that has to go through compliance. And really the main thing for us, like I said, is just checking in with someone on that staff. And I typically will ask the transfer recruit, hey, is there someone on the staff that I can talk to? Can you pass me a phone number? And then we start with that person. It's funny. That'll tell you if they pass you a GA's number. Yeah. That's not great.
Yeah.
Like, give me the coordinator, give me the head coach. Yeah. Give me someone who's not the GAs aren't
why
credible.
Are you leaving? Yeah.
But I want to talk to one of the big dogs.
So do you have a, Black Hills is a teacher's college. So lots of teachers and coaches have come out of there. I was this year state football. Tom Solomon, is a BH. I played with Tom, and I didn't realize he was coaching football on the east side of the state. But he won a state championship. There's a couple other guys from Black Hills that were
Brady's done a great job at Brookings.
Yeah, there's a lot of Black Hills state former players sprinkled through the state in Wyoming, and I think of McLaughlin over
there. Of course, Dalton.
Oh yeah, Dalton.
Good old Dalton Waveman.
Yeah, and guys like that. So do you have a little black book of coaches that have played here? They probably call you with kids they have.
There's more in Wyoming.
Yeah.
There's a lot more in Wyoming than there are in South Dakota. I figure it's the teacher pay.
Yeah, a little bit. And we got a lot of former players out of Wyoming
that are just from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. And start with those guys. And, camp has been huge for us. I don't want to change the subject, but you made me think of this, Darren, is like camp has been huge for us. Having team camps and then growing our prospect camps and getting a chance to see the kid from the small town Wyoming that I didn't even know existed. Will show up to camp and wow us. And so those have been great tools for us. And that's really for everyone. I'd encourage high school kids, if you really want to get looked at, pay the $50 and go to a camp and bust your butt. That's how I ended up at Black Hills.
Was it? Yeah.
Old Jay Long saw me at the STSU team camp.
Sure.
I was busting my butt in some tires drill, like the figure 8 through the tires, and no one wanted to go. And I don't remember this. He said I kept going to the front of the line because no one wanted to go. And I just remember the next morning after day 1 of the STSU camp, I couldn't walk. I was so sore.
That sounds like Jay would pick that. I mean, how Jay's line drills go at the Shadman camp, right?
Oh yeah.
He's a front of the line guy, that's for sure.
He's busting them.
So you were from Pierre.
Yep.
You were out at STSU at a camp. How many camps did you guys do?
Oh man, back then that was it.
We
And,
never camped. I went to the Nebraska, the Big Red Camp on my own
yeah,
a couple of years, but we never camped as a team.
yeah, we went one time.
Yeah.
One time. Other than that, we do a couple of, almost felt like OTAs. And we just get together with our coaches, and we would have some guest coaches come. I want to say we had the staff from Dakota Wesleyan came to Pierre and put on like a satellite camp with our team. But I had 3 head coaches in high school, so that continuity just wasn't really there. And
who were the head coaches when you were there?
oh, there was a guy there. Oh, I guess I technically, as a freshman, didn't play for the first one, but my last 2 of them were Chad Gusso.
Yeah.
Chad Gusso, and then Mike Bush.
Oh, yeah.
And Mike came over from Mitchell
So
over to Pierre.
So Mike's son's a big kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Big kid. And so my Mike Bush story is obviously everybody else. Well, I'm a kid in South Dakota. I have no idea. I'm watching the Scab games, right? Monday Night Football or whatever.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's Mike Bush, South Dakota State. And I was like, oh, Dad, the quarterback's from South Dakota, And then flash forward to 5, 6, 7 years later or whatever. I'm played a lot of baseball over in Sturgis, a lot of Legion baseball. And he was one of the umpires.
No way.
I remember he was an umpire behind me, and I was like, "Hey, you were the guy." And he's like, "Oh yeah, he's kind of a quick." And then he pops up with his kid. So I mean, that guy's been popping up for.
Did you see him when he came to the game?
I didn't.
He was up here for a game this year. It's great to reconnect with him.
Yeah,
he was a great coach. Is a great coach.
Yeah, he's a good.
Mike
He's a good trivia question. Then who played quarterback for the New York Giants from South Dakota? And then speaking of satellite camps, as we get into that kind of stuff. SDSU used to knock the heck out of satellite camps through Nebraska back in the mid 2000s. They started where they'd go out to the high schools and they'd have those. And then I think the NCAA kind of put where all the, like SDSU would have one in a small town in Nebraska, and then all the colleges would come and work it. Kind of like yours at Linden.
Yeah, that mega camp.
The mega camp or whatever, but they would put little ones on. And the coach that was doing that was that Josh Davis.
Okay.
And then he left. Then he was just back this year at SDSU, the receiver coach.
And did he just get hired at USD?
Yeah, he's the USD's OC. Yeah. And I was like, man, this is a lifetime Jackrabbit going to be the Coyotes OC.
I listened to.
That's pretty crazy.
Did you see the video he addressed the team in a team meeting? There's a great video on Twitter I saw today. And he said, fellas, it was great to be down in Frisco. And we punched the Bison in the face. And he said, we're going to win it. He said, we're going to go back to Frisco and we're going to do it, with a Coyote logo on our shirt.
Oh, he did.
So it was cool. It was really cool to hear him.
Oh, yeah, good for him. I mean, I can't imagine, I think it'll be good. It'll be great for the rivalry and good for him.
Did I tell you I went to the game?
Yeah, I saw pictures that you were down there. Crazy.
It was,
I thought I saw Fields with his shirt off, but that was some other guy.
Was he there?
Yeah, I think Fields was there with a bunch of guys. And
I ran into a lot of people that I knew. I was trying not to run into a lot of people because we had our national coaches convention in Charlotte.
Oh, yeah.
But my wife, she kind of said, hey, this is going to be a really important deal for her dad, my father-in-law. He invited us to go. He made plans for us to go, arranged all the travel. And it was just something I couldn't say no to. And so I didn't wear SDSU stuff. I just wore something blue, to help support my father-in-law and his lifelong dream of seeing the Jackrabbits win a title. And boy, it was incredible. We got to stand on the sideline for most of the game. So I kind of tried to hide in the shadows and not be seen. I don't think anyone cared to see the Black Hills State football coach.
I wouldn't think that one bit. There's some of those kids that make sure they know your name that are playing a little bit.
They're pretty focused.
A lot of looking over the rosters. I think half of the O linemen for SDSU are South Dakota kids.
Yeah.
Up and down, not all the starters and everything, but that center.
Mm-hmm.
I remember him in Brookings, and he's at Brookings High School, and he's a Brookings kid. Miller, I think. No, not Miller.
I can't.
Whoever their center was, number 50, I think was a Brookings kid.
For the longest time, it was Wes Janot, and he was a Parkson kid.
Yeah.
Kid that we tried to get at Sioux Falls so badly, and he ended up, I think, maybe walking on at SCSU, and then earned himself a scholarship and played. I think he started for them for 3 or 4 years.
Oh yeah, they've been really good at minding those.
They develop.
The Yankee kids. I mean, they were good in high school, but boy, I didn't
see that though.
No, I mean they turned. I mean
I thought they were high D2 caliber guys coming out of Madison.
Yeah, but they're hardworking suckers.
Yeah.
Most twin athletes that I know are hardworking,
Yeah.
are hard workers for sure. But then the couple D line, I mean, there's and USD, I think that Davis is a good recruiter, so that it won't be as easy to just find those kids for you at SDSU anymore.
I don't
This
think
guy
so.
kind of knows and I like Nielsen, the
I do
head
too.
coach. Yeah, so
He's a classy guy.
yeah, so I think both those programs is going to be fun. I was down there 2 years ago for the Hail Mary in the Dome.
Oh, you saw that?
I was sitting right there, and
boy, that was a wacky deal.
yeah, yep. All right, well, let's see. We talked about the recruiting and the portal. Give us a little bit of idea what spring's going to look like for you. What kind of numbers you're bringing in recruiting wise? How many kids and stuff like that?
Well, we added some mid-year guys, a couple of scholarship mid-year guys, a few walk-ons. We were talking about one of them earlier.
Yeah.
Right now, our roster number is at 94. I anticipate just with normal attrition, I'll probably get down to 90 again. I'm hoping to be in the 30 signees or so. So we're going to have a bigger team this fall. We might be pushing 120 guys, but our staff likes having higher numbers for practice, just to be able to have depth even on our scout teams. And
oh, sure,
that's been a huge deal. And we ran into a few positions this year, namely wide receiver, where we were really I guess, let me just put it this way. I'd say 80% of our wide receiver group was traveling. And so we had a few guys that on scout team, and they worked their butts off and they got a lot of reps.
Yeah.
So we got to build our numbers back up again this year. Looking forward for that. But yeah, for us, I mean, right now we're going to do 8 straight weeks of lifting, 4 days a week. We're going to turn them over to Coach
Derek,
Van Blarkum. And he just does such a tremendous job training the guys, give them 4 days a week, a nutrition center.
How's the nutrition center working? That thing's been
dude, shout out to Doug Luters and their family for what they do for Black Hills State, because holy smokes, it's incredible.
Yeah,
absolutely incredible to see some of the weight gains that our guys have made just since we've had that now for about 2 years.
Yeah,
and we run it all summer too.
Do you?
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, it started out with bananas and peanut butter sandwiches. It's probably a lot the same, but
yeah, I mean, we still pass out the PB&Js and the bananas. South Dakota beef. I know you guys do that.
Yeah, that's a great. I mean, our high school kids, we grill them steaks every Thursday before home games.
Do you?
Oh yeah, we had the booster club, but the South Dakota beef gives us, So we load up come speak before one of our games, and we'll make sure you get fed. But
cool. I need a steak.
Yeah, and Looters helps us with that. We go down there and get those from Looters, and
that's been a great deal that they've done for us at college.
They've been a great part of this community for a long, long time. I worked in the meat department at Looters when I was like 14. Yeah.
No way.
Yep, and Doug would, it had me doing this and doing that because my dad's family were from grocery stores in Nebraska.
Okay.
So, and I didn't know anything about grocery stores, but just because I had been in one before, he was like, and it was good. I learned a lot. And then baseball started in the summer, and I told Doug, I said, I got baseball. I'm going to need some time off. And he's like, no time off. And I was like, well, I'm not going to be working anymore.
I got to go hit some home runs.
Yeah. If I'm not playing baseball, man. Roofing starts at 6. If I wasn't out of practice or whatever, that was around our house,
Oh, wow.
And so, so I went to every practice I knew about. I went to every, but same thing with Doug. He was kind of like my dad. He's like, well, if you ain't playing, you need to be working. So
I like that.
Yeah, but they've been, that Looters has been good. Good for Spearfish.
And it's been incredible when we first got that rocking. And I couldn't say nutrition center without saying Stadium Sports Grill as well. Provided the building of that kitchenette for us. Beautiful kitchenette in our weight room. But we thought that was just going to be for football. And Doug and his family, they donate enough food per month to provide nutrition center for every single athlete, every program, cross country, you name it,
hundreds
triathlon.
Of kids. Yeah.
So it's been awesome, and they never run out of food. So
yeah.
No, it's been really cool. But yeah, we're going to train for 8 straight weeks, 4 days a week. Wednesdays off. We're going to team meet every other Wednesday. We're going to do some sexual assault educational stuff on those off Wednesdays. So kind of made that volunteer only. I presented that to the team today, and said, hey, I'm not going to force anyone to go through this education. I want guys who want to make a difference on that front to come be a part of certifying themselves in this really cool educational program I found on sexual assault. And so we're gonna take that on, and yeah, we'll go 8 weeks, and then we'll start spring ball on March 6th. We'll knock 3 out, head to spring break, come back and knock out the remaining 12. Hopefully spring game Friday, April 14th, that we don't get snowed out,
in or
rained out, or lightninged out.
Man, last year was a tough spring. I was trying to help out, and then practices would get moved, and it was between my schedule and your schedule, we could never get on. You'll have a full staff this spring, as far as you know?
This will be the fullest staff I've had ever in the spring. So
it's always tough, especially at this level. Those coaches are, they're here to try to move, and you know, we'd love every good coach that comes through here to stay forever, but it's not the reality of it.
I've been really fortunate to have the three main guys by my side since day one, and my offensive coordinator and O-line coach Ben Blake, my defensive coordinator, assistant head coach, linebackers coach Jordan Brown, JB, and then passing coordinator, my quarterbacks coach, Coach Joe Ashfield. Those three guys have been with me here since day one. You know, we had a D-line coach move on after 2 years to a Division I school. He was just up here for Christmas break, and we got to sit down and talk quite a bit. Coach Mike Smith, great guy. I remember Mike. But we added Jonathan Cervantes from University of Texas Permian Basin.
DB guy.
Yeah. Does a great job.
That's what I've heard.
Does a phenomenal job coaching those guys up. Took on special teams for us. Did a good job. And then we were able to promote 2 GAs to full time. And
so, did those guys take somebody's spot, or did you get? Well, were you awarded some more?
One of those guys took someone's spot. Our D-line coach this past season left our program. And so we had that spot available. It's one of those restricted earnings jobs.
Yeah.
So those jobs that just pay a salary. I believe our institution calls them part-time NFT jobs. But yeah, you log hours each week throughout the 10-month contract. And then those 2 months in the summer, we pay them through summer camps. But we were able to promote Drake Davidson, one of our, he's our most seasoned GA, coached the wide receivers last 2 seasons. So we're going to promote him into one of those roles. And then we created another role for Brendan Hopkins, our D-line. He was a D-line GA this past fall. I guess I kind of found out partway through the season, he was the D-line coach, basically, was running a lot of what was going on. Kind of grabbed it and said, hey, now this is what we're going to do. And he does a great job.
Yeah.
Shattering grad. That was kind of an interesting deal.
Was he the one who played? Did he play in the CFL or no?
No. So his last game with Shattering was the last game of the 2021 season when they stomped us like 59-6 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. He dropped that. Remember they were in the swinging gate.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if they scored a lot of points. Maybe you missed this one, but or maybe you had left at this point.
Yeah, it was.
They were kicking our butts, but they ran a swinging gate play. And he was the guard next to the snapper, and they threw him the pass, and he dropped the pass.
Oh, no.
I don't know if you remember. He was wide open and just dropped it.
So he's a recent Shattering.
Oh, he played against us in 21. So the guys, they didn't have a hard time with it. They gave him a lot of crap right away, but he works his butt off, hustles everywhere, signs off.
There's plenty of green up in there, up in Shattering, too, on that staff from here.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, that's right.
Good to get a little bit of it back this way. Well, not as much as there used to be, I guess, but
yeah, not quite as much, but yeah. So I like where we're at. We just got to hire 2 more GAs this off season, but we can go through spring. Make sure we get 2 of the right guys. That's kind of been one of the most interesting things about being a head coach, a new head coach, is just vetting employees, trying to find the best coaches. In the salaries that we have. And honestly, if I'm being honest with you, Darren, like our salaries for our full-time benefit employees on my staff are very competitive. And I think that's what helps keep those, guys like Ben and JB and Joe around. And
in the area, it's not the worst place to be. I see Joe walking to and he lives way out by the.
Dude, he walks to work like every day.
I'll see him in the mornings sometimes, and I'll be like, hey, and he's been here a while, so he must like it. And
yeah, he likes it a lot. Those those guys mean the world to me, man. And that's the best thing about coming to work every day is knowing I'm not going to be working alongside a bunch of dudes that just hate their lives. You know,
Sure.
I get to work with my friends every day, my colleagues, and dudes that love football. They love the athletes that they work with, and they coach for the right reasons. And that working with good people, you can't put a price tag on that.
Yeah,
Man.
it makes everything run
You can't, man.
a lot smoother.
I've been really lucky to be at the places that I've coached, being around some really good people. And I'm gonna make sure if I'm in charge of choosing who's gonna be on the staff, I'm gonna make sure that I continue to surround myself with good people. So
Yeah,
it's the most important thing.
yeah, definitely. And like you said, having those guys that have been here since you got here and stuff, and they stuck it with you, it's going to make a lot of difference in the next, 3 to 5 years. If we can keep them around, build off of what you guys have been building on, that'll get us another 2 rungs up the ladder, so to speak, as far as being around. And if we can keep all you guys around, if you guys keep winning, everybody's going to come hunting for you. So
I'm planning to be here as long as I possibly can, man. I love it.
yeah.
You
I
know
see
that.
Kearney got their new coach that signed with Ryan Held.
Oh, I didn't see that yet.
Yeah, he's a new head coach there.
There's a lot of movement, I think, this year.
Yeah.
Well, you had John Riston step down at Pueblo to take an administrative role. There's a lot of rumors, and I know John. I'm sure he's getting blown up, so I just refrained from calling him and hitting him with what happened.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of drama surrounding and a lot of rumors about why.
Yeah,
I think it was just a better job.
Really?
Yeah.
The admin one?
Yeah. Sounds like it was just a better job, and so they filled their spot with
I was gonna say they already
Philip
hired.
Vigil.
Yeah, I think that was right.
Western New Mexico. So sounded like it was kind of a quick hire. I don't know much about V-Hill, but JB GA'd with V-Hill back in the day, and he said they met up over the convention in Charlotte this past weekend and had dinner. So
I just drove down. I drove down to see my folks in Arizona.
Oh, really?
And I went down, Pueblo. Hadn't been, I was going through, what is it, Las Vegas?
New Mexico.
New Mexico. Isn't that where Western is? Or one of
Highlands.
Highlands is there. And then Western used to be Las Cruces, or down by, was it Silver
City.
Silver City, went through there.
Western New Mexico.
And so I was like, oh, I'd never been to Pueblo, been through Pueblo, and I need to get over to Grand Junction and some of those. But I was like, man, it's a lot of I-25 in a bus right here, boys.
Oh man, we know those passes real well.
Yep,
we know them real well. But it is good. I think that's, and Coach Vigil, I'm sure will do a good job. I don't know him very well, but the resources there at Pueblo are there. They have tradition. They certainly have size on their football team. That was the most impressive looking team I think that I saw all year.
Pueblo?
Yeah, their athletic.
Oh, they're always
size.
seem to be, large.
They're
dudes.
bigger this year than they were last year, I think. But we got to keep trending that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of having 3 of them, you can have 3 O-linemen like that. You got 7. That makes a difference.
I love my Doodles. Doodles is my guy.
Buddy.
Man, I wish.
So let's talk about some of the kids and so you guys had a pretty good year last year. Lost a couple of close ones to Western and who was the other close one?
New Mexico
Highlands. Man. And then so you're competing and stuff. How many kids? Who you got coming back? What do you got coming back? How you feeling about what's coming back?
So we have everybody coming back minus 7 seniors. So, boy, I feel really good. I feel really good about the experience that we're returning, the leadership that we have coming back right now. You got guys coming back on defense who have played a lot of ball. Ryder Blair, Aaron Teal, in the middle playing linebacker. Corners, we have Deontay Moody, Levinsky Simon coming back as starters. Zachariah Rodriguez Brown coming back, who started some games for us, played some safety for us as well. And then up front, just as well as I do, it always starts up front.
Oh yeah.
We're bringing back Cooper Brown, who was a defensive freshman of the year. Eric Eads, who was a starter for us in 21 and missed a number of games with a knee this year. Zane Hood, who was a really good player for us this year. Nick Arnold, Morgan Tigner, I mean,
Oh,
we're bringing
really?
back.
A lot of guys that have been around. Yeah, names have been hearing.
I don't think we graduated one defensive lineman. That was TJ Frazier.
Well, that makes a difference, like you said. Not only just having big dudes, but having older dudes that have
It does,
been
man.
through it a little bit. They
Oh, and Buck.
yeah.
Yeah, Buck graduated as well. Apologize. But yeah, sorry to cut you off. You're exactly
Yep.
right. To bring back that experience and those guys who played those close games in 21 versus Pueblo and this year, the 1 point loss versus Western. I mean, those stories, they don't you don't forget those games, and those stories will hopefully kind of project us into a really, really great 2023 season. But
Yeah.
quarterback is kind of the one that everyone wants to ask me about all the time. And we graduate Aiden Willard. Chance even moved on from the program, so we had a huge hole there at our quarterback spot. Right towards the end of this past semester, going into Christmas break, we were really just kind of staring down the barrel of having one scholarship quarterback coming back who was a freshman, and Jackson Minor.
Yeah.
And Jackson's a great player. He was able to redshirt for us all year, so he's got 4 years to play. He's got a tremendous arm. He's a very good player. If we don't have to rely on a freshman, then let's not, And he's going to compete. That's the thing is, like, we did sign 2 transfer quarterbacks this offseason that are going to be here with us this spring, going through spring ball and competing. And Jackson, don't count him out. The kid's a great player. He's a really good player. So,
well, and one thing that helps out a young quarterback is a good running game. And I thought your running back depth and
yeah, the depth.
the different types of running backs you have really paid off this year between
you're right,
Noah and some of the other guys. Just the different running styles.
Yeah, Nolan is probably our best tailback all around, catching the ball, guaranteeing that you're going to get 3 to 4 every single time he touches the ball, no matter what's happening in front of him.
He really reminds me of Fidel.
I don't know. Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I never got to see Fidel play. I just remember
and Fidel was the same way. He stayed square, and he was, it looked like he got stopped and he got 4, And that's kind of how I feel about Nolan. He kind of has the same kind of feel to him as far as the same body size and stuff.
He brings a calmness to to our whole staff when he's in the backfield. He's been a great leader for us. Dude's just a tremendous student, a phenomenal athlete, a good leader. He's done a great job. And then returning Cam Goods. Cam Goods had a really good year for us. I'm kind of surprised he didn't have kind of a shot at freshman offensive player of the year, but for us to get the defensive player of the year, they kind of had to spread that love, I'm sure. But Cam did a great job. Isaiah Presley, probably one of our most naturally gifted athletes on the whole team, was able to come in and provide some sparks, especially in the Western game. Had a really good game versus Western.
Young guys too, right?
Yeah, both of those guys were both true freshmen for us this fall. So coming back as sophomores, Nolan will be a senior, and Riley Bennett, former walk-on from Powell, Wyoming, will be back as a sophomore, a redshirt sophomore, I believe. Yeah, redshirt sophomore. So Riley's a strong player for us too, and he'll just continue to get better. But yeah, we return all 4 of our backs that we traveled this last year that saw playing time. 4 of our 5 offensive linemen. We'll be getting Jason Rouse back, who started for us in 21. He'll be back playing this next season.
And if you've got experience back on the O-line, makes a huge difference too, because they know the system, they know they're used to working together a little bit, and that should pay off too.
So yeah, the 4 we'll actually be returning 6 guys who started for us on the offensive line. 3 of those guys are definitely staples of that offensive line in Trey Tremblay, Nate Clay, and Troy Middlestetter. You had Elmo Barnes as a true freshman, started some games for us this year. And at right tackle, he traded starting spots and time with Jason Aguilar, who was a D3 transfer last year, came to us and fought his butt off. And then he had to return Jason Rouse. Jason Rouse is our best looking offensive lineman on our whole team. I mean, he's prototypical. He's got the really long blonde hair, 6'4", 290, strong as an ox.
Did I see one of the guys that graduated at like a senior game or something like that?
Yeah. So Sam Ambrosio,
Sam, yeah.
he's done, exhausted all of his eligibility. He's still in the graduate program right now. He went and tried to, he got on the field with, it was kind of like a pro day senior game type thing.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to get in touch with him and figure out if we can't get him to some more pro days. He's the one guy I think of this graduating class, I think that'll have a chance. He's really, really strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's very strong. Doesn't have much body fat. He'd be a great guard or center
Yeah.
at the next level. But there's just so many of those guys out there. I wonder,
Yeah.
if someone would give him a shot. I hope so.
And did I see that your long snapper was at some sort of camp?
Anthony Rosenstraw. Now
Yeah.
he's got NFL times.
Does he?
He's got NFL times, and Tony would be the first guy to tell you what's he got to work on. He's got to work on his coverage skills, being able to get down there and be the first guy to make that returner go left or right or make the play,
It used to be in the old days in the NFL, if you were the long snapper, you had to be at least serviceable at tight end or offensive line or somewhere else on the field. Whereas I don't think that's that way anymore. I think they're
really
so they can be a
specialists.
little bit smaller, a little bit. Like when you think of Thayer when he was the long snapper at SDSU, but they can't touch you. It's more of an athletic position now.
Yeah.
And that's what I was telling some of my kids at the high school. I was like, you need to become a long snapper.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, that's I said it's not for big guys. I said they need athletic guys that can cover.
Yes.
At long snapper now, it's not.
Even the short snapper, you can't hit the short snapper like you want to. You can't line up on him, and you can't hit him until 1 second after the ball's been snapped. So
you give him time to
getting doloed on as the long snapper.
We had the last 8 years at Spearfish High School. 2 brothers have been our long snappers, the Lyon brothers.
Oh, really?
Cade and Carter, and done a great job.
Heck yeah.
And about halfway through our last playoff game there, I started to have a panic attack. I was like, oh, next year I'm going to have to worry about, I didn't even worry about long snaps for 8 years. Now it's like, oh, we got to figure out who's going to.
That is
because it's an important, big deal.
Yeah.
The long snapper's a big deal on a football team because they can make things. Yeah, it is.
Dude, we're so blessed to have Anthony. And Anthony does such a great job. It's cool to see him get first team all RMAC academic, and they don't just pass those out to guys who get good grades. You got to be a good ball player too, and he's definitely that. So we're going to lean on him to carry those short and long snapping duties again. And then this last year, the kicking game.
I was going to say, we can't talk about specialists unless we talk about our hometown boy.
It really improved for us.
Yeah.
And so we competed through that punter spot. So I have 3 kickers. I have 3 legs. Let's say it that way, maybe. Yeah. One of them kicks and punts. The other one just kicks. The other one just punts, and that's Derek. And so we let Derek and Coleman kind of compete it out to punt, and felt like Derek's best punts were better than anyone's punts on the team. At times, we felt like Coleman could be more consistent, but we just weren't getting the hang time and the distance and like the game-changing flip the field punts that Derek can have. And so we gave Derek the nod, and there's only one game this year where I'd subbed him out and put Coleman in. It was Highlands,
Yeah.
That CJ Sims ran one back on us and ran a kickoff back that, thank God, got called back. But we just, we couldn't punt it out of bounds that day for some reason. And so we brought Coleman in and he did that. But outside of that game, Derek was ice in his veins all year for us. Did a great job. Had an awesome net average, I want to say, by the end of the season.
The one thing I noticed when we went to the RMAC, one of the main things I noticed was the kicking game.
Yeah.
Every team that came to town, their kickers were good. And their special teams was good. And since the day we entered the RMAC, that stood out to me. So it's a big deal making sure that you have kickers and punters and snappers and special teams. And I watch your guys' practices and stuff, and you guys spend a lot of time on special teams.
We do,
which I think football anymore most teams do.
You just have to.
I mean, at the high school we spend a good amount of time on it, and it pays off every week, I think.
Yeah, Derek had. He averaged 40.4 yards a punt, with long of 69, had 7 over 50 yards. His average put him 4th in the conference.
Yeah.
And I think he'd have a chance to be even higher, I think. But yeah, and the field goal kicking was great. So then Coleman did all of our place kicking, and I think he got Armac Special Teams Player of the Week 3 times.
Sure, yeah.
This was an incredible year for those honors. We had more than we've ever had in school history between offense, defense, and special teams. And then Ryan Ewing was a true freshman for us from California. Was a high school soccer player, played football at senior year, has an incredible leg, did all of our kickoffs for us. And he was able to get a ton of balls out the back of the end zone for us this year and get a lot of touchbacks. And that's something that we didn't have in 21 with Parks. Parks wasn't getting as many touchbacks as this Ryan Ewing was. So I'm excited to see all 3 of those guys come back. So
when they were all able to contribute.
Yeah, they all had their own piece.
Their own little piece.
Yeah. It was great. And so those 4 guys I know are really, really close. And all 4 of those guys do tremendously well in the classroom, bring our team GPA up. So I got a lot of respect for those 4.
And then we were talking earlier, receiver-wise, you got a few guys in. You got a walk-on. Like I said, our kid from here, he's actually from Hot Springs, but that Harkless kid's going to walk on. So.
Yep, he's going to walk on, and it's great. He's already been attending Black Hill State, so that was a really easy transition. I think his wife's a student there too. But it'll be great to see what he's able to bring to the table. But we do return all of our wide receivers. We did not graduate any. And so excited. Hassan Williams, is probably our most electric receiver as far as his big playability. I'd say him and TJ Chuckera. Chuck will be coming back as a sophomore. But we are going to be old. Hassan will be a senior. Connor Boyd will be a senior. Jamin Wirtz will be a senior. Mitch McKibben will be a senior. Josh Ahananu will be a senior. And Josh didn't play much for us this year. Jake Pape will be a senior and didn't play much for us this year. But, it's one bad ankle and you're in. So I'm glad that we have all those seniors. But this past season, we didn't have enough freshman receivers. And so we kind of got a gap there that we need to fill.
Sure.
So
when am I going to see Doodles on the offensive side running like a jet sweep or something? Not to put any thoughts into his head. But.
I think we give it to Nick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go.
Dude.
Yeah.
The way I think Nick led the conference in return yards on touchdowns. I mean,
I was going to say, didn't he had a big return there at the end?
He had some really, really long ones.
Yeah. He was banged up a little bit during the year, wasn't he?
I can't remember if Nick was or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick ended up with 278 return yards on four picks. I really would have liked to have seen Nick with those stats. And here's the deal, Nick with those stats, not starting every game. Mm-hmm. It was kind of Bailey, Nick, and Doodles.
Yeah.
Bailey, Nick, and Doodles every other week at Free and Strong. And
so they be next to each other next year?
I think they're going to be next to each other next year.
Or they'll be competing to be that situation?
And who knows? Maybe we'll have an opportunity. Maybe we'll have an opportunity to bring Doodles down and play him in the alley as like a slam or a nickel.
Yeah.
We just got to find a place.
Yeah, he can play around the line of scrimmage. He's fearless.
He can go blow up bubbles and go set the edge. But no, he made such a huge improvement, Doodles did, in his game this year with his man coverage. It's the one thing that really cost him a lot in 2021 was just his man coverage. It seemed like it was the pogo, right? The post and go or the corner post or the post corner. Deep double moves.
Those are tough. If you get your hips wrong, you're done.
Oh, yeah.
Done in that situation.
But shoot, the one play that sticks out in my mind the most was we're up at Dickinson week 1, and they ran like the huge boot left, stop, plant, throw back, the sneak wheel out to the right for a touchdown bomb. And Doodles saw it, recovered, and just sprinted, got underneath the ball, broke it up.
Yep.
And he had a tremendous year. It was great to see him not have to lead us in tackles this year, though.
I was going to say, he covers a lot of ground. He comes from the far hash, and he'll make plays on the sideline. I mean, he reads well, and when he sees it, he goes, boom.
No, he's great. And it was awesome to see Nick make a transition from a freshman to a sophomore and be a contributor. But
So those boys' story is no, they.
Yeah.
So how are they doing?
They seem to be doing great. They just moved off campus into their own place.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, they're using their scholarship money and their stacks, their financial aid to fund their way through school. They both are doing well in school now. And so I think we've overcame that freshman hurdle
yeah.
of figuring out how to be a college student. And they both have done a really, really good job the last couple semesters. So
You know,
I'm happy, really happy with those two.
doing pretty good with all your guys as far as keeping them around.
Yeah, our retention's been good. It's been really good. I was looking back, it's slowed down. Okay, when I first got here, it was hot and heavy.
Yeah,
We were losing guys right and left, and I think a big portion of it is a lot of those guys weren't guys that we recruited. A lot of those guys didn't know really what they were getting themselves into when our staff was hired. And I always tell people we never intended to crank up the heat so high that people would just quit. We only cranked up the heat to start winning.
yeah,
And so I think winning comes at a cost, and it does cost what it costs. And sometimes people just don't want to pay that price. And we saw that, man. Our first 3 semesters, a lot of kids quit, but it made room for us to recruit new guys, and it started to slow down. And this year, especially this year over the summer, kind of hit me. I'm like, man, now that we have a team that's primarily all of our guys, we have to do a better job, an even better job of recruiting our kids that are on our team. And you
well,
hear
yeah.
coaches say that
Especially with
now.
the portal now, you have
Yeah.
to recruit them every day.
So, and I don't know it's necessarily that you need to tell them how great they are, and tell them that that you rely upon them, and tell them that you want them to stay. I think it's just continuing just to build the strong relationship, and that
Yeah,
means just communicating. And
they have to know what you're saying, good or bad, is the truth.
yeah,
And you believe whatever you're telling them. They're gonna see right through the
they're smart.
the smoke and mirrors. Yeah, they've been they're they're doing the same thing that you're trying to do to them with.
Yeah.
They're not stupid.
They're
know.
not stupid at
So
all.
they might not like what they're hearing, but they respect the truth,
Yeah.
so to speak.
I know one thing that we did through fall camp, we got together with our freshmen, just our freshmen, in the classroom a number of times, and talked to them about just warnings. Hey, this is something that will keep you from coming back. Hey, this is something that you need to watch out
Yeah.
for, and bringing in older guys to talk to them about, hey, I went through this. And
Well, tell the story real quick, and then I can. I mean, we've been here for a while now, but tell the story of you after your freshman year, and you were
yeah, of course.
you were heading down to tell Coach Scott that you were done. You were
Yeah.
going to transfer. You were.
Yeah, shoot, I came in as a tight end. Jay Long was the only coach that I had an offer from that said, you can come here and play tight end, big guy. And I was a big guy coming out of high school. I was probably 6'4.5", probably about 275. Proceeded to just drink beer all summer long. And I came into camp over 300 pounds and at about 6'4.5", and was in the tight end room and redshirted as a tight end, and did Skelly every day as a tight end as this huge kid, and could never get open. And I just struggled to play tight end. I was just too big and too slow.
Yeah.
But I had it in my head for some reason that's who I was going to be. And as soon as I caught wind when the season was over that they were going to move me, I hopped on my computer and I started emailing all the coaches who recruited me out of high school. I was that guy. And so I remember emailing Ed Meyercourt at USD. I can't remember who else I had reached out to. Ed was kind of the main one that I wanted to go to USD all of a sudden. It was my thing. And I started telling people. I started telling Elena, who was my best friend's girlfriend at the time,
Yeah.
who's now my wife, which is funny. But I remember telling all these people who were close to me, my roommates, my teammates, and all of a sudden, Coach Scott found out. And he calls me down. He says, hey, I heard you're trying to leave. You need to come down and talk to me. And so I walked down from Winona Cook to the upper doors of the YC by the pool. Right when I get in there, I believe it was Jay Long was waiting for me. And he kind of, looked at me and said what he needed to say about, his opinions of me leaving, which was he wants, you should stay. You're making a mistake. Got to the stairs, and it was John Vance. Old JV was there.
Johnny.
John Vance.
See him every year. I like Johnny.
Oh, yeah. He's the man. He was coaching linebackers at the time, and he said, hey, you're making a mistake. You could be an All-American offensive lineman. I wasn't hearing it. Got down to the bottom of the stairs, went into Coach Scott's office and sat across from the desk, which is my desk now, which is kind of funny. And, man, he ripped my ass for 2 hours probably. Felt like 2 hours. It was probably about 40 minutes. And at the very end of that meeting, he just wrote up on the board. He wrote 70, and he wrote like 5. And he said, if you play tight end here, you're going to play 5 plays a game. If you play offensive line, you're going to play 70. So what do you want to do? It's like, I guess I'll play offensive line.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, he told me something that was so true that I think is still true today for a lot of my athletes. He said, more than the team needs you, you need the team. And I didn't know that at the time, and I didn't really believe that or ever think that at the time, but I started to think about, well, what is my life going to be like if I'm not on a team, if I'm not part of something bigger than myself, and every day I wake up and it's just me, myself, and my thoughts. And like, you grew up playing sports too.
I wouldn't have a college degree if I didn't have to stay eligible.
You're still on a team. You're still coaching. You're still on a team. And I couldn't ever not be on a team. So I walked out of there still kind of wondering, like, am I going to do this? And one of the senior linebackers grabbed me then and said, kind of choice words, but basically like, hey, guy, you're not quitting. You're being selfish, and then you're making a huge mistake. And I went home for Christmas, came back. Dude in my position group got hurt, got to start the spring ball, got to start for 4 years after that. And ended up being second team All-American my last 2 years, and had the best experience of my life playing football for the Yellow Jackets, and it changed my life. And so, when I got done, I'm like, man, I think I want to keep doing this. I want to be a part of making changes in young people's lives like I experienced. And I know it's corny and it's a little cliche, but I mean, without the experience I had at Black Hills State as a student athlete, boy, I don't even know where I'd be. It's crazy. I don't even like thinking about it.
I tell my kids all the time, I said, being a leader is corny.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to lead your peers, there's going to be times you're saying stuff and you're like, oh, this sounds really like rah rah, like Rudy type stuff. But guess what? That's what it's about. Is whatever emotion you're feeling is what you need to make sure that you're communicating or whatever. And but yeah, I just like to hear how they line the coaches up, and every one of those guys that talked to you was a former player.
Yeah.
And they know exactly what's coming down the line for you. And when I didn't realize, so when I came back right after you were playing, I came back and was Coach Long's assistant O-line. Well, I was assistant O-line coach right before you showed up, Scott's first year.
Okay.
And I tried to coach a little bit, and then I had my daughter and stuff, and then I was out right when you got here.
I thought maybe Coach Scott got you out of the game, maybe.
No. I didn't get it. There wasn't enough time for him to run me out of the game.
I love that guy. But
yeah, he was.
I don't know if I could work for him.
Yeah, he was But you guys won. One thing about Coach Scott is you'd be down 18, and you're still running. You're still you're still there with the running game, still pounding away. And at the end of the game, you had your chance to win. With that guy.
Did he win state this year?
No, I don't. No, I think Douglas beat him. Douglas Jack? I think Jack beat him, and then Star Valley, or did they?
I think Bighorn. Is that the same? I can't remember, but
yeah, I know Douglas was playing because Coach Seeds, who I played with at BH at Douglas, they were playing Coach Scott.
Got you.
And they might have beat them, and then Star Valley beat them.
Okay.
To go to Cody quarterback's going to Notre Dame.
I know. Insane. We saw that kid when he was.
Coach, how can you let that kid out?
We saw him when he was a sophomore at that. There's a Heath Hayes, which Heath puts on this great camp, the Bighorn Basin camp in Thermopolis.
So Heath was on John Scott's first staff too. Yeah,
I remember Heath just a little bit. Heath and Peggy, they're phenomenal people. Love Black Hills State football.
Yeah,
always support and send us love when we
Heath's
win.
My age. Yeah.
He's great, but they put on this camp in Thermopolis, and we've actually signed a number of kids from this non-padded. It's kind of like a backyard football camp.
Yeah, Boone's in Thermopolis now.
Boone's in Thermopolis now.
Yeah.
That's right. We're going to try to get Thermop to come up to team camp this year. I think it might happen.
Bighorn, they always have a big camp, don't they? Where McLaughlin,
Yeah.
Coach McLaughlin.
And I saw
Or
Kirk.
is that Bighorn or Big Piney? I don't know. Kirk, I can't remember. I can't
ever
remember those. But
Or did you go to school with Kirk or with Coy?
I went with Coy, and then Kirk
Yeah.
was right after us. Yeah.
So Kirk, I saw Kirk in Deadwood 2 weeks ago. I had a recruit here and took him to eat up in Deadwood. Ran into Kirk. They won the state title
Yeah.
on a tremendous ending. Did you see how they ended
No,
their game? So they were down. I think the game was like 7-0 or something like that the whole game, and they ended up throwing like this wheel that this kid mossed another kid, cuts across the whole field, scores a touchdown. So they're down 7-6. They ran Philly special to win the game for 2.
Nice.
So Kirk was super happy about that.
That's a coaching moment there when you got the balls to go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
There's so
run it.
many great, like really good high school coaches within like 200 miles of here, you know?
Yeah.
Like even the Rapid City, like I like Coach Sullivan was texting today. There's a couple, I've been talking to him about some of his athletes, and excited to see what direction maybe Central's going to go. Did they hire a coach yet?
You know, I haven't heard, I guess.
And the Stevens coach I really like. He does a great job. Coach Scott, I really like Mike. But yeah, I mean, we're in a really cool area, I guess is all I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I think if you coach football around here, I mean, very few programs get fed athletes every year, right? So,
Yeah.
so you have your ups and downs, and you really got to like coaching when you have your, coming out of, I've been in Spearfish now through the thick and the thin here, and feels a lot better to be going this direction than the other direction.
man.
But even on those teams when we weren't winning, I love the heck out of all those kids, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's what a coach is. When you find good coaches, they stick around in places because they're endeared to it. Or
it's not about them,
Yeah, it's not them. And there's lots of good coaches that are deciding they don't want to coach anymore too, which is unfortunate.
Oh, I think a lot, like you guys probably got to deal with a lot of stuff. I remember talking to you about even like through COVID, your stuff was so much more different than ours.
Yeah.
And I know I've heard stories about, Dalton among other, head high school coaches having to deal with parents and
Yeah. Well, and I just think the whole program, the stronger your program gets, the easier those bumps are, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And in Spearfish, I think we're headed right down the tracks we need to be going down. Having Tatro as the head middle school guy, and having Dalton, Coach Wademan as the head high school guy. They were roommates in college. One was a left tackle, one was a left guard, or right tackle and right guard. They played right next to each other, so they're on the same page. So our middle school and our high school are on the same page. We have all of our middle school coaches are former BH players. I think we have BH connections on all of our coaching staff on the high school and the middle school. And so I think that makes a big difference when you start having groups of guys thinking the same way. Then those bumps and stuff, you're taking them on as a group, and you're not feel like you're, it's not. I think the rules I set up, it's like, no, the program's rules are this, and we're getting there in Spearfish, and I imagine you feel the same thing as you're getting into your third or fourth year, where I always liken it back to, I used to coach the Legion baseball program in Sturgis when it was Northern Hills, and then I coached and ran it here in Spearfish for a while. And we'd always, when I had our first kids, you always, it was like, all right, guys, when you cross the threshold of the field, you turn your hat around. When we show up for games, we're going to be dressed in pants and our warm-up tops, and we're going to look like and you battle that for a while, and you battle, hey, and you make kids run when they don't do it and stuff. But then halfway through the next summer, I'm sitting there and I'm listening, and these kids are ripping on the other teams because they don't have their hats right, and they aren't.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of the first time in my life where I was like, hey, holy, this stuff is working.
Yeah.
And to this day, I'll see some of those kids not to this day because they're all older guys now, but when I'd see them after that, say they were in college or something, they'd have their hat on backwards, and and they'd spin it around when I came walking by, just as a joke or whatever.
Funny.
But that was a discipline thing they hated, and now it's something that is endears them to me, and I to them, so to speak. So that's the great part about coaching, and that's the great part about having good people to coach for you. And I'm excited that Black Hills has a guy like you leading our program, guy like Coach Thompson, Coach Norrie, all the coaches up there. It makes a big deal. I always say it's really easy to work hard next to somebody else who's working hard.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. A little taste of winning makes it all.
Yeah. A little bit of winning, a little bit of, hey, this stuff works.
Yeah.
So let's keep doing it. Yeah. It goes a long, long ways.
It does.
Long way. Well, thanks, man. I'm going to get us out of here, but let's do this again. We can talk. I'd love to talk scheme sometime here.
We should definitely do that.
Pull one for you. We worked hard tonight.
We deserve it.
And talk some scheme. I want to get some of your other coaches in here. JB.
Oh man, you get JB on the mic, he might never.
Well, it'll be a 4-hour. It'll be a Joe Rogan special with him. I just want to keep it on football. Hopefully, you don't get no.
Yeah.
But I talked to him about the API and the grades.
Oh yeah.
And the NCAA stuff, and I think people have no idea what you guys have to do to keep.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. API is a average. Well, I don't know what it stands.
I don't know what it stands for either. He's always talking to me about what he dealt with at Abilene Christian when he first got there, and it was their APR. And I still don't know what APR is because we technically don't have to track APR at D2. But the eligibility standards are what they are.
And and they're confusing, and
they can be.
You got to have a guy on staff.
Yeah.
But when he gets into that, boy, he's.
Oh yeah. He'll tell you some great tales.
And some of your other guys like Joe was at Stanford and some different place. TCU, was it TCU? Or Rice?
Rice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some of those, I'd like to hear about some of those programs and different things. So
there's some really incredible coaches that would love to come on and talk.
Yeah, and they'd all do a great job. So
you'd love it.
All right, man. I appreciate it. And
thank you. That was fun.
We'll get out of here.
Sounds good.
Thanks.